welcome to the Swift Half, your weekly session of chat from the UKOCR and adventure running scene. Each week, pub landlord Alan and our favourite regular Ian discuss races, runners and anything else that comes to mind. So pull up a pew, pour yourself a drink and join us for the Swift Half.
Ian, my friend, welcome to Swift Half again. How are you?
I'm good, Alan, and as this is coming out, we've only got 1 week left in March.
1 week. Oh, this year is flying. This year is absolutely flying. And my Facebook this week has gone absolutely crazy with pictures of races. Everyone seems to be tagging old school races. And I don't know if you ever get this, but I've got Reaper tagged in, Mud, Sweat and Beers, Muddy Furlong. So I've had 3. I must have done 3 races in the same weekend at this point over the years.
Well, I think we're going to get into this, but yeah, I think this coming weekend is kind of like, I don't know, it's almost like the first day of OCR spring.
The spring of OCR. Yeah, it's going to be a busy weekend.
It is. But before that, Alan, I'm going to ask you, what are you drinking?
Well, I've had a bit of a bad day at work today, Ian. Not like me. You know that I help a lot of vulnerable people and things like that, and I help them out as best I can. And I've had a bad day. I've been called fat today. So among other things, sometimes I get called names, but this guy really meant it with a bit of venom in his voice. He actually said to me, he says, he was struggling for money, and I've helped him out in several ways. And anyway, he's just said to me, he says, I can tell thy ate well of at Christmas with size of thee, can't I? Where I can't eat no. And I'm like, how rude is that? I'm a big bloke. I'm a fat bloke.
You're tall. You're not really fat, but you're tall. But you come across as you could probably play Little John in a panto of Robin Hood. You've got that look about you. You're broad in the shoulders. You're not. Oh gosh, if you're fat, the rest of us are in trouble.
I was thinking actually, and because I haven't trained for a couple of weeks, I do know that I've put a couple of pound on. So like I said to you, so I'm stopping off the beer, but I've had a pretty hectic day today. So I've actually gone for beer anyway. So I have gone Mike Nolan, thank you very much. I've gone for Nethergate Brewery, an Augustinian, 4.2%, finest Suffolk bronze bitter. I'll have a taste of it now because I haven't tasted it yet. So, that's it tastes chocolatey. This is a wonderful, smooth drinking premium beer into crystal malt and additions of hops. It tastes chocolatey though. Quite nice. Like it.
You just read that out. I wonder who actually gets paid for writing that. Do you think there's like a beer writing person whose entire job is to write it? Or do you think it's just someone at the brewery?
No, there are people who actually do this. And I actually saw something on, I don't know if you're ever bored and you sometimes flick through Facebook and it comes up with reels. Have you seen the reels that are on Facebook?
I am trying my hardest to avoid it because I'm already addicted to way too much on the internet. I don't need anything else.
You're quite right. They are addictive. Because when you flick one, you flick 2 or 3. There was something the other day, and it was a guy, and he was tasting wine. And it said the greatest, and it named what they actually does. And I can't remember what that name is, but he was like, and it's got florals of this, and it's got hints of this. And I think, and they're the people who write this. You're going to Google this now, aren't you? What's a wine taster called?
I am genuinely curious, but while I'm doing that, should I tell you what I'm drinking?
Tell me what you're drinking.
I am drinking a bit, because you said you weren't going to drink, I was trying to keep the side up. So I have got a beer. It's a Lost Lager from Brewdog as I slowly get through my Christmas presents. I think they do like 10 festive beers, don't they? Or 12 festive beer pack.
Yes, they do.
And I think this is beer. Let me think about this. Yeah, this is beer 1 that I've drunk from it. Beer 1. It's I tend to drink them in order that I like. And I'm not a fan of Lost Lager, but it needs to be drank. And you know what it tastes like? Have you ever had Lost Lager?
I actually like Lost Lager. I find it very refreshing.
It reminds me of the beer my dad drank in the 80s. I know I'm dating myself there. And don't Yes, something like that. It reminds me of that smell of the teeny tiny little bottles of beer, weren't
Yeah.
even a Coca-Cola can. They must have been smaller. But yeah, one of those. And yeah, I just don't, but I need to slowly get through it. So I go in reverse order. I'll finish with a Hoppy Christmas, which based on this, I'll probably drink next Christmas based on speed.
Have you found the name of these wine tasters? What do they call themselves?
One, is it called a Solomon Milia?
Oh, it's something like that. Yeah, it's a really weird name like that.
Yeah, Solomon French pronunciation, I can't do that. Or wine steward is trained and knowledgeable wine professional.
That's it. That's the one.
So, what's a beer person called then?
A beer manila.
A beer mania. Gosh. Right. Well, we're completely off track. But talking about people who didn't go off track, Alan, Barclays, we were talking about this last week. And we've got exciting news, haven't we?
Oh, 3 finishes in. 3 finishes, a record. Good for Damien. Got back on the 4th. Luke went out on the 5th. Couldn't find the first book. He spent 2 hours trying to find the first book, and didn't find it. So he turned around and came back to camp. Good for him.
Poor Damien. We should confirm it's a record equaling, not a record breaking, because they have had 3. Equaling. But they did break a few records this weekend, didn't they? The most people on Loop 3, I think.
Yeah, loads of people on Loop 3. Jasmine Paris equaled women doing Loop 4, getting to Loop 4.
She did, yeah. She got to Loop 4. I don't even know if they keep track of this, but I think she got the furthest through Loop 4 that any other woman had.
Wow. Well, that's a thing itself. Have you been reading some of the sub-stories that's been going off about it?
I've seen 1 or 2, Alan, but I'm sure there's a few that you are particularly keen to share. So which ones?
The one I'm keen to share is John Kelly's on his final loop. He'd set off, and in his words, it was overeating. It was a very hot day. It was overeating, and he saw a muddy track, that 4x4s or whatever going in. There was some water, so a little bit of a puddle, and he was that hot, he decided to fall down or lay in it to get a little kip. And he's pretty famous for his, John Kelly, like 15-minute power naps. When he does Barclays, he has 15-minute power naps. So as he said, he thought he'll get a 15-minute power nap. Worst case scenario would be that coming up behind him was Carol. So Carol Sabe could have woken him up if he passed him. Or if he slept for a long time, maybe Aurelian coming the opposite direction would have woken him. But he says he dreamt that some friend he'd never seen for 20 or 30 years walked past him and went, "Oh, that must be a John Kelly nap." And this bloke had got his wife and 2 kids with him. And he wasn't sure whether he was hallucinating, dreaming or anything, because he woke up after 15 minutes and carried on running. But he's reached out to this friend and said, "I dreamt about you. I was laid in a muddy ditch and you came by and said, that's a John Kelly nap." And his friend going, "Yep, that was me." So he was genuine, someone he'd never seen in 20 odd years.
He actually was there.
Yeah, he was there walking with his family. That's amazing.
What was he doing in Frozen Head?
He went camping because it's a massive national park, isn't it? And he'd just gone camping with the kids and they'd gone for a hike. And yeah, that's exactly found him. So
that's unbelievable. Can we go through the results if that's okay, Alan?
We can definitely go through the results. Yeah. So Aurelian Sanchez actually came first. So he was the second going out on the final loop on loop 5. Brickett went to the fastest time. He did a total of 58:23. That's 58 hours 23 minutes. John Kelly from USA finished second. Oh, sorry, Aurelian's from France, by the way. John Kelly from USA finished 19 minutes later in 58:42. And then the third runner back was Carol Sabe, and he had 6 minutes left to spare. 59, 53, and 33 seconds. So, yeah, absolutely amazing.
Which, to be fair, finishing with 6 minutes left is better than being drove back in a police car like he was last time.
Exactly. Did you really hear about the book went missing as well?
I was going to ask you about that because it would have been, I presume, it was on the first place loop because presumably Carol and John would have gone past that book.
Yes.
And obviously, I'm not going to say the Frenchman's name, but he would be coming the other way. It would have been his last book, yeah?
It was Aurelian's last book, yes. Which makes you think that when Damien was looking, had the book been taken?
Probably not, because he would have been going the same way as the French gentleman.
Oh, right, yes. Yeah, he was going the opposite way, weren't he? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So had that book gone missing, John Kelly and Carol wouldn't have seen it.
Yeah. So they came back with only 13 pages and was a bit worried, but it was explained that the book had vanished. The book of vanishing.
Yeah, someone basically was tidying up, weren't they? They knew the race was happening, and they were just. But that is actually something, because unusually, as you were saying about the story of the friend who just walked past John, unusually it was probably busy in the park because it was nice.
Yeah, exactly. It was beautiful. I mean, they say it's the best conditions they've had. From in terms of how bad it can get. The cold really dropping and everything else. So yeah, it was. I'm amazed. 3 runners. As I follow it. Me and Kate, I've refreshed Twitter every 2 seconds. I was messaging you, and I was letting you know, and that. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I'd love something like that to come over to the UK. I know they've tried a couple of little things, but it needs a proper big one, doesn't it? Somewhere in the Peak District somewhere.
Like I said, we do have the tunnel race, which we discussed last week. What we need to do is try and make that as big.
Yeah, that's right. Where we're going to go? Let's talk a bit of Sparta. Let's lower the tone a little bit here now.
Poor Spartan. Poor Spartan. Alan, did you get an email this week from them?
Well, I entered a race back in 2017, so I'm pretty certain that mine's in the post, because it seems that everybody is getting an email who's ever done a Spartan race, or near enough.
Well, yeah, and it's quite a special email. It's not the usual spam. They're not selling us Spartan Biffy bags. They're not even telling us how much fun in the mud we will have and to lock in the prices now before they discount them. I mean, before they rise. It's quite an important email, isn't it? It's saying you're qualified for the European Championships.
Yeah, you've qualified for the Europeans, and all you've got to have done is ran in the Europeans last year or whatever. Yeah,
well, it's going to be shocking to most people who receive this for one reason, and that's the reason is, well, Spartan doesn't start for 6 weeks, I want to say, maybe 5 weeks.
30th of April, so yeah, 5 weeks away, yeah.
And the email says, the hard work is done. There you go. You don't need to go now. That's it.
Nothing at all. Ian, this is absolutely crazy. I do get it. And I was speaking to Mike Nolan, messaged me and asked me a few things about it the other day. We went backwards and forwards. And I was saying, I don't know if the reason is, last year Matt Brook took over, yeah, and has he yet got all his eggs in the basket? Because when you sometimes take over a new job, the people who are leaving are not always forthcoming with things, or they've let things slide a little bit. And I'm worried that maybe I'm not worried, because I think Matt Brook's a great person. I'm sure he'll turn it around. But I think this looks like a little bit of a case of that. They haven't had time to create a qualification when they should have done this ages ago.
Well, I'll explain a little bit back. That's not great. See what happens when I drink beer I don't like. Goes right to my head. But anyway, not just that, I've got to record another podcast after this as well, listener. There we go, breaking the fourth wall. That's going to be terrible. No, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be wonderful. Fine. But we should explain, this year for qualification, you have to have earned a certain number of points by attending races.
Yeah.
That is how you do it. It's not by time, not by anything. You just have to have attended a certain number of races. And we shouldn't criticize this. Since COVID, OCRWC, which gets all the plaudits in the world, and rightfully so, that also has this qualification, doesn't it, Alan? That for elite, you have to be a certain time. For age group, you just have to have run a certain amount of races, like the old journeyman.
Yep, that's it.
But what has obviously caught many people by surprise is that Spartan season, well, honestly, I don't know when it starts. I think it starts when the World Championships ends, but I don't know for sure. So what appears to have happened is any points you earned last year are good for this year, so you've qualified.
It's just a little bit crazy, and it's just a little bit crazy. I can't understand it. I've tried to look at it, and I just don't understand it at all. But yeah, it's on Zendesk.
It's on Zendesk. Either it is they've shifted the calendar around, or the intern has got the email list again.
Yes. But one good thing about Spartan, though, I'm going to move quickly on here because we've got a lot to talk about. But I want to talk about one thing I am seeing about Spartan that I do like. Spartan in the States this week, barbed wire crawl getting to the start line, mud, a Spartan going back to basics.
Yes, I believe, and I think Matt said this a few times, Matt B, who we rely on for a lot of our American news, let's be honest. Other podcasts are available. Oh, wait, I don't need to say that.
Not as good.
Yeah, we're not the BBC. No other podcasts exist. Listen to Matt. Anyway, as Matt saying, he thinks that Joe might be thinking, oh, well, this worked in 2013. This is how I bring people back by having barbed wire crawls before the start.
I think it's I'm not going to say not only that, but I think it's a start. It's something different. It's re-jazzing up Spartan rather than just, we look at Spartan and we think elite racing. Yeah, we think elite racing. We look at Tough Mudder, we think fun runners. There's got to be a crossover at some point. You know what I mean? We know that some elite runners go to Tough Mudder. You know, we know some fun runners go to Spartan, but they're not capitalizing on it. You know, Spartan are not capitalizing on that fun runner, and they've got to get the numbers up.
No, and I gave him a hard time, and you're probably right, because all the people who did Spartan for the first time this week, did something for the first time. Sorry, wrong brand. But all those people would have gone to work the next day and said, that was really hard. And you know what? Even before the race began, I had to do this.
Yeah. And I like what they're doing. I think fetch it over to the UK. Do things like that in the UK. Let's make it better. Let's make it, not saying go back to 2012 and that, but there's nothing wrong with what some of the obstacles we had in 2012 and the atmosphere we had in 2012.
I agree, and I think Tough Mudder should follow suit and bring something from a course. So Tough Mudder, if you're listening to this, if you could bring a feed station just before we start, I'd really appreciate it. Actually, including the course, if you can bring the headband awarding stand as well, just before we start, perfect. Absolutely perfect. So, Matt, there you go. You can have that for free.
They are fetching plenty for us, though, this year. Tough Mudder.
I believe so. I've seen the emails, Alan, but I think you've got your finger on the pulse again.
Well, I always have. So, first of all, what interests me, it came out on social media at the weekend, was that they are going to fetch some of world's toughest mudder obstacles to some of the UK events. They're not saying what world's toughest mudder obstacles. They're not saying what events, but they're saying they're speaking to the build team, and we're going to potentially maybe just get one at every event, which I think is a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, I think they said selected events, but you just don't know. And I guess it depends on the obstacle. Because to be fair, if they were to bring Coach's Box over here, that would be amazing. That is such a fun obstacle, particularly if they bring Coach or someone. that would be great. I wouldn't be happy if they brought the pitfall into Mud Mile, where you had to carry one of them strange toys, that just slides through your hand.
The slinky things.
Yeah, the weird things, which actually look quite rude when people are holding them. Yeah. But it is what it is, I guess. But yeah, Coach's Box, yes. Oh, Grease Lightning or whatever they're called. Just shoot me. Yes, please. Strange mud things. No, you can keep it.
Exactly. But they have said then they have also released some obstacles that they've done and in the past that are making a comeback. So last year, was it Finsbury Park or something? We saw Sliding Dirty. Where was that? Somewhere down London, wasn't it?
I want to say that was what I see as the last event of the year. I know it's not, but London South. I want to say it was there because London South often gets some great obstacles. And yeah, they had Sliding Dirty, which to be fair wasn't too different to Just Shoot Me, except I don't think you went into a water trough.
No. So that's coming back to more events. Electric shock therapy, which I'm not happy about, is getting more wires. That's annoying me a little bit. They're going to put more ice in Arctic Enema. Now, I think that's good because I've noticed recently that there's nowhere been anywhere near as much ice as there was back in Tough Mudder's heyday.
No, and I guess it is hard to refrigerate and that. Alan, I wouldn't worry about the EST thing. Just follow my example. They might put more wires in it, but if you walk down the side, it doesn't matter.
It's not going to affect me. I have to do every obstacle, Ian. Even if I do try and get away with it as much as possible, I have to go inside that first pillar, and then I can go outside the wires. As long as I dash back in the last pillar, like I did with Arlie when we made him do ESD, then I'm absolutely fine.
I think the last time I did an electric obstacle was, I want to say it was the electric eel when I knew that they actually didn't have the charger, so it wasn't turned on. So I just crawled through it, but pantomimed getting shocked because there was a lot of newbies behind me, but I just wanted to freak out.
I love doing stuff like that. Is the best ever. That's one for a video. That
You know, the obstacle I do miss that we used to have an electrical one that I don't think we've done for a while was, I want to call it entrapment, which was a cross between a Kiss of Mud and Electric Eel, where it wasn't strands. It was, you could avoid being shocked if you got low enough. I quite liked that. It was almost like them white electric lines that you see farmers' fields have.
I think they should have that rather than razor wire, because razor wire, it ruins clothes. And if you're running good clothing, it ruins it. You know, I've ruined several things on razor wire, and I try and stay lower now, I guess. So
if you're wearing good clothing to a Tough Mudder, you've probably also got a pair of flats.
Yeah.
But you are right, to be fair, because again, it's about creating experiences. I shouldn't gatekeep like I just did. So apologies, listener. Yeah, when I was praising Spartan a second ago for creating those memories, if your memory is you tore your best pair of gym shorts, you're not going to come back, are you?
No. So I like the idea of electric rather than razor wire. If you're listening, Tough Mudder, I know they listen. That's what we want. That's what we want. I don't know if every runner wants that, but that's what we want.
Some people really like the barbed wire for some reason. To me, it's an annoyance.
Not for me. One thing I am happy about, pyramid scheme. They're taking the ledge away.
No, put it back. I like the ledge on pyramid scheme.
No, we want to get the proper pyramid thing. We want to get everyone back up on it. I don't want it on there.
My problem. Yeah, but my problem with this is once you get more than a stack of two people, it becomes really unstable, and all it takes is one person to buckle and it's trip to A&E. I liked having the ledge where it was two people up, so you still had to have that, but then you had the ledge. You'd still be a pyramid, but you just had that ledge. Honestly, I'd like them to make it bigger so that you needed four people to get up, but have the ledge in the middle.
Oh no, I like that idea, Ian. So a taller pyramid, but a ledge halfway up. I like that idea.
I think that would work, so that when people got to the ledge, it wouldn't be a case of you could just jump and grab the top. You'd still have to clamber on someone.
Oh, I like that. That's a cracking it, Ian. That is for that competition. You need to what's the word? Get it drawn up right now.
Yeah, norm your limits. If you're listening to this, I don't know if you do, feel free to steal it because you'll do a much better design. We can call it the Bernie Madoff.
The Bernie Madoff.
The best pyramid scheme going until he got found out.
I like that. Yeah, it was. I get where it's coming from now. Oh, you get me now. Next obstacle, anyway. Something I've never done. Does it count if it's just the tipping? So they're putting more respect on just the tip by updating the climbing holes. What's just the tip?
You have done it. It is on Gauntlet as one of the where you're just on your fingers. The part.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah, the part of the climb where you're literally just on your fingers, like Ninja Warrior had it quite a while.
Oh, so now they're going to put climbing holds instead, which is actually better than just putting your fingers on it. It's like a board, isn't it?
Yeah, I think climbing holds would be fun. what's interesting about climbing holds is anyone who's a actual climber, they'll be able to do it, but you'll remember from when you did climbing, because climbing was a big thing in OCR community for years, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
John Alban once mentioned all he does was run and climb, and suddenly everyone did it whilst wearing VJ shoes. Yeah. But
VJ shoes.
Anyone who climbs knows that your hands are just there to hold you, and your legs are doing all the real work. So I am curious how it's gonna. I reckon good people will do it, but I do reckon it might catch a few people out because it would just be strange.
I completely agree. I think it will be a bit. But I prefer holding on to climbing holds than I do holding on to them little fingerboard things.
Then again, it depends what grade we are. If they're a V0, so the white hold, for those of you who go to a commercial climbing gym, then yes, please, all day. If it is one of the red holds or the black holes or purple, no thank you, because it'll just be a little bit
really
strict.
Tiny, aren't they?
Yeah,
the little black ones are really tiny ones.
Yeah, but if it's big lugs, yes please.
Yeah. Cage crawl's getting more water in it. Plus, they're going to put mopeds in there.
So that means you can clean it as you're going through.
Well, I think they've obviously been to Overload, because Overload has mopeds in their cage crawl for years, hasn't it?
It has, allegedly. I don't know. I've never been anywhere near
it. Where have your hands been? So another return to the UK course. Hang Tough is back.
Hang Tough, yeah, that's just Kong, but not as high. It's just rings, isn't it?
Yeah, but it needs to be on water, doesn't it?
Yeah, a bit like a few other obstacles. They do need to bring back the water, even for stuff where it's almost inconsequential, like Black Widow, something like that, because it is a basic obstacle, and at worst you're going to get your ankles wet, but it just adds that little bit to it, doesn't it?
I like a bit of water under obstacles. I think it's much better than just not coming on no water at all. So I think water obstacles. The first one I did that I'd monkey bars I did that I'd water under were Dirty Dozen back in the day, and it added a whole new dimension to doing monkey bars that are just normally, they're just usually fashioned just above the ground and everything else, but doing it above water adds a whole new dimension to it.
It does. It increases that fear factor. Even, like you say, on something like Black Widow, where it's ankle deep, it just makes it look better.
Yeah, it does. I love water. I love water. But yeah, anyway, Tough Mudder, that's what's happening in the Tough Mudder world.
So that's what's happening in Tough Mudder world, and Spartan and Tough Mudder are still to come in the coming weeks. We'll talk a bit more about them because their season hasn't started yet. Sorry for all of you guys who got European Championship qualifications, but yeah, their season hasn't started yet. But should we talk about what has started, which is this coming weekend, which is going to be quite big? We said spring in OCR has sprung.
I like that. Spring in OCR has sprung. But we're going to go first. Shall we go with the big race that's happening for a lot of people? Tartan Warrior up in Scotland.
Yeah, not only is it on, it's returning, isn't it?
It's returning. It's 2 days, an 100-meter course, a 3K course, and I think both of them are FISO qualifiers, if I remember rightly.
I think so. Let me just check good old OCR Buddy, a quick plug for them. Yeah, it looks like, at them, you have the 100-meter national trials and the 3K age group national trials. So I'm guessing the 3K event at Tartan Warrior will qualify you for 3K AG. And I'm also guessing that what we've got is a 100-meter course there as well.
Yes. And then on the Saturday, on the Sunday, we've got the 8K event, which is part of the Scottish OCR series.
Have indeed. And where can people find out a bit more about the Scottish OCR series?
They can go back to Monday's podcast and listen to Who's Scott?
Who's Scott with some really good podcasters.
Lindsay McEwen, Gareth Hogarth, and Karen McQuarrie.
I just put you on the spot there, didn't I?
Yeah, I knew that. I did know there were. I have listened to them 3 times actually this week because I had to edit and publish and that. So yeah, and I actually listened to when I edit and publish behind the scenes. I don't always listen to the podcast all the way through. I don't take it in because I'm listening for other things. but then I do actually listen to it this week. So because I wanted to ask you, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Have you listened to it? And if so, who's going to be your picks?
You know what? As of time recording, I haven't, because I am saving it. I've got a little bit of driving this weekend, so I was saving it for a commute. That's my excuse. I'm sticking to it.
It's a really good listen in. It is a good listen. I like it when they're talking about the races, everyone who's rocking up. There's going to be 30 ladies on the 8K start line. That's amazing.
So 30, the 8K elite start line.
Elite, yeah. So in the competitive wave, there's 30 people going. Names that they know that are not necessarily from OCR. And I think in the men, there's 60 something.
That's an impressive number for a brand new race. Well, a return race.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Great numbers out there. Great numbers. So who else have we got this weekend, Ian?
We have got, well, it's weird. I'm going to start from what I think is the bottom and work my way up the country. Although I'm going to mess this up. But we've got the General in Winchester.
Yeah.
These are all on Sundays, by the way, listener. We've got Muddy Mayhem in Hartford and Mini Mudder.
Yes.
Which I think is for a hospice, I want to say, maybe.
That's what I've got as well.
We've got the Grim Challenge, Beauty and the Beast. Is this the same Grim Challenge that used to exist previously?
I think it is, yeah. I think it's just not as big as what it was. This is right down south, though. This is down near Southampton, I believe.
I completely stuffed up. I thought Winchester was furthest south. Oh, well. But I do know that the next one is north, and that is Adrenaline Shock in North Yorkshire.
Yes, and they've got some new obstacles that have come out of... No, I was out of retirement. Some new obstacles that have come out this year. They've got a really big reverse wall. It's a bit like a reverse wall, but very shallow. So it's quite tall, but very shallow. A bit like you have to manage it like an Irish table.
Okay, so you don't think you're going to be able to touch much underneath it at all, no?
Yeah, it's really hard, but I've seen it. I think there's a post underneath it. So the picture I've seen, there's a post underneath it. You can put your foot on that to try and get a swing on, but I reckon it's going to be really tough for some average people, for average OCRs runners.
Which we're going to get a lot at these races because, as you mentioned, a lot of elite runners are up in Scotland.
Yeah. This is a prime time to actually go win a race.
It really is, Alan. North Yorkshire's not that far from you.
Yeah. I'm on holiday. It's my birthday on Saturday, Ian. My birthday.
Happy birthday.
I always forget that your birthday's in March, even though it's every March.
Yeah. Every year it's the same day. How fun is that?
Who would have thought it? That's a old joke, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you get an ID'd and we say, what's your birthday? April 4th. What year? Every year.
You're listening to the 19th most popular podcast for people who go abroad to find themselves on a gap year and still visit international fast food restaurants.
Well, Adrenaline Shock, Alan, is this the one that finishes on the Krypton Factor obstacle course, but not the Krypton Factor obstacle course?
Yes, not the one that we remember as kids, which was the straight line one. This is more of a, which I quite like, because I class that as an army style obstacle. This is a little bit different. So it has some similar obstacles, but it doesn't have that same feeling of just like literally 10 obstacles, which were the zip line down and then the big wall and the balancing and the running and all that lot. But it is a good obstacle course. I've done it twice. I've done Adrenaline Shock twice. Some good running involved in it. Some good muddy sections. You run through a paintball area, which is always very weird and strange. They don't shoot paintballs at you, but it was weird and strange. There was a good forest section when I ran it. There was one section I didn't like, which was they took you on a farm track that was really super rutted. I think if they'd have just marked it and put you down one side of it, it would have been much better. But yeah, it's a good race. I enjoy it. I enjoyed it.
It is. And now you mention it, Alan, you're mentioning about the old Krypton Factor. That's an obstacle no one's ever brought. Do you remember in the old Krypton Factor obstacle, there was this kind of letter S, which you kind of slid down. It was made out of wood, and you slid down it, and then you had to go up and then down, and you kind of rolled down it.
I tell you, tried to make one very, very similar, which was Rat Race. So you went in, and you're quite right. You went down, and then you came back up the other side. Rat Race did one very, very similar. Wasn't the same, but it was a good obstacle. I enjoyed it. It was a Dirty Weekend, Rat Race Dirty Weekend.
I
People
must
remember it.
Yeah, I must have missed that one. But yeah, that was always one of them obstacles that looked quite fun. It was rubbish on TV, because they just rolled down it. But I always thought it'd be.
But it was good fun. It was
Yeah.
good. I enjoyed it. They don't have it there at Richmond, but that is good. I like the old obstacle course that the Krypton Factory was having. It reminded me of, I guess, when I wanted to go into the forces, going to Marines, it was like, that's what I wanted to do.
Which it does make a lot of sense, because we've gone off a tangent here. People think about, how did you get into OCR and all that? And then you think back of what you watched as a kid. You've been watching obstacle races your entire life and just not realised it. You've been watching Gladiators. You've been watching Krypton Factor, Takeshi's Castle, Total Wipeout. It's no wonder people were attracted to obstacle racing.
That's what it's about, isn't it? You watch it on telly, you want to go and do it. And although they're all different types of obstacle course racing, they do fit under that one banner.
So we're talking about what's happening this weekend. Should we talk about what's going to happen in September in North Lincolnshire? There's a brand new race, Alan.
There certainly is. So I've actually spoke to the race director of this, and we're going to get them on the show at one point. So it's Diablo, a whole brand new race. And the good news is they are British obstacle sports licensed already, which is absolutely amazing. Coming from a race director myself, it does have a license from British Obstacle Sports. You have to go through a lot of hoops and rings to get your license. Okay, you've got to show them due diligence. You've got to have your insurance in place. You've got to, basically show that you're going to be able to put a race on. But a race never to have gone ahead and already got this. And I do know they've actually been working very close together and using British Obstacle Sports as knowledge to get there. I think it's amazing that a race has gone so fast this quick. And it's a credit not only to the race for doing it, but to British Obstacle Sports for being able to support this race.
No, I completely agree, Alan. And we should probably stress for any RDs who are not British Obstacle Sports licensed yet that, there are hoops. But if you've got your stuff in order anyway, I almost swore, but if you've got your stuff in order anyway, it's not actually that hard from what I understand, because you should have this stuff anyway.
You should have everything that they're asking for. You should have when I said going through hoops and that, my hardest part was actually because my course is not where I live. I was going down there and taking obstacles out and taking pictures of ones that we'd not already got, so I could send them in for their health and safety exactly, because they wanted pictures. Where my insurance for my own health and safety, they didn't want pictures on mine. They were happy with the description of what the obstacle was and everything else. But British Obstacle Sports wanted pictures. Take a picture. Next race you put on, take a picture. You're absolutely fine then.
No, exactly. You know what I like? Because I'm having another look at this race, this Diablo challenge. I've got it up. There's a few things I love about this website. One, the website looks cool. Two, what I like is they've got pictures here, but it's quite clear they've done their hardest to make so that they're not ripping off anyone else, if that makes sense. So you can't see these have obviously been taken at another race.
Yeah.
Or they might be stock photos, but they're making it quite clear that they're not trying to trade off anyone else. So we don't have a Tough Mudder obstacle in the background here. It's someone crawling on the floor, and you can't even see the face.
Which is something we slated another company off not long since about putting Mudderhorn there when they didn't have Mudderhorn. It wasn't a Tough Mudder event, and then they were advertising Mudderhorn. It is good. I like it. I think they are stock images. I'm going to be honest with you, Ian, and saying the purchased images, the stock images. I would assume that after this race is put on, they'll have the whole images of all of theirs, because they're doing it right. They are doing it right.
Yeah, and we're also supporting some great charities, including Mind at Hull in East Yorkshire and Mind North East Lincolnshire. A friend of mine, it's no secret I went to the University of Hull. A friend of mine volunteered at Mind whilst they were there. I cannot speak highly enough of Mind. So for that alone, it's worth having a look at. And the thing that I'm really happy about, Alan, is the description.
Go on.
A 7K obstacle course event with over 27 obstacles.
Yeah.
I love anyone who says over 27 obstacles, because that means you've thought about it. You have 4. I've got at least 27. So I'm not going to put 25. I'm not going to say up to 30. You're getting 27, and you may have more of a build more.
Yeah. And that's what you should do. For them to have got passed now by British Obstacles, they know what obstacles they're going to have. They have put in their health and safety form and said, look, these are 27 obstacles. These are the 27 obstacles we're planning on doing. You know, they could potentially make amendments later and say, we're adding this one in, we're adding that one in. But they've done it all. They've got 27 designs, 27. I want to say quality obstacles, but I don't know what the obstacles are, so I can't say that in a minute. They've got 27 obstacles that they're going to build, and put into an event. And that's all British Obstacles has. Just tell us what you're going to do, prove to us you're going to do it. And in this case, they have. And fair play, I can't fault them.
No, and something else which was disclosed to us, but I'm not sure if we're meant to say this. So if we're not, James, reach out, tell us to bleep it out. We're not gonna. But that, as part of their process, because they were a new race, British Obstacle did ask for a little bit about their finances. Mm-hmm. And British Obstacle are satisfied that if they get a certain number, which is less than the number that they're expecting, the race will go ahead. So they're quite satisfied that their financial thing behind it. They can't guarantee a race isn't going to collapse because who knows? Lincolnshire could get invaded by Yorkshire. So they can't guarantee that a race is going to go ahead.
Well, it's flat, so it could flood.
It's flat, it could flood. Act of God and all that. They can't guarantee it, but they were reasonably comfortable that the finances are in place for this race to go ahead.
Yeah. I think it's just outside Grantham, isn't it? The Grantham area.
I want to say I've not even looked where it is. And I just did say...
I did look earlier on.
So let's have a quick look. It's called the Farm Scrambler. It is in Crowell, North Lincolnshire. I have no clue where Crowell is.
Doncaster postcode. DN17 4LR. Doncaster postcode.
That doesn't say a lot. I think most of South Yorkshire's and Lincolnshire's got a Doncaster postcode. I think Sheffield might have a Doncaster postcode.
Yeah, I can assure you Sheffield doesn't, because I've got a Sheffield postcode. So,
but you're like 50 miles away. Is Yorkshire? Does it only consist of about 4 towns? Because you've got Doncaster, Sheffield postcode. I think Leeds postcode covers a lot of the area, and then you've got Hull postcode as well. So yeah, I digress.
There's not many postcodes out. You're quite right. It really is very few postcodes up here.
There is a story about postcodes in that people. It is just as simple as where the major post office was back in the day, wasn't it? So there wasn't enough mail in Barnsley to justify Barnsley having a postcode. There probably still isn't enough
mail now.
No, probably still isn't enough mail in Barnsley. You have to read and write and stuff for that.
Yeah.
I'm going to get cancelled for that one. Anyway.
It's near Belton. Oh, it isn't far, near Thorn and Belton. Oh, that's not far at all from me. That's an hour's drive. I think I might go to this one.
I'm not completely sure. It might clash with Tough Mudder, London South. I've not checked that, but it's usually around that. It's in September. It's usually about that time. But if you can go, it's only £45 per person now till the end of May. Why not? Support a new race.
Bargain. Absolute bargain. Talking of races, there was a massive race this weekend where a world record was set.
There was. We're going to dive in Fitness Racing Corner. It was High Rocks Barcelona, and Hunter set a sub 55 High Rocks.
This is what dreams are made of. And he talks on his social media of potentially not being fit yet. Where can he go?
I don't know. I'm not sure where he wants to go next. He did pick the Spanish courses, for whatever reason, are getting a reputation for being fast. It's just the way it is. So he did deliberately pick this race. So would he have hit that in Manchester? Probably not. But even so, it must be nice to break your own world record.
Breaking a world record's one thing, but sub 55? This must be what it was like when Roger Bannister ran that first 6-minute mile.
Yeah, we've chatted about this. Eventually, these times are going to have to reach a point where you're shaving off seconds, aren't they? You're going to have to plateau eventually.
Yeah.
But I don't know where that plateau point is.
50 minutes?
Maybe. I guess a lot depends on how fast you can run 8K.
Yeah. Yeah. But what do you think made him go to Barcelona? Because you said they're fast courses. What's making them fast? Heat?
Honestly, no one knows for sure. There could be a mix of things. If you're unkind, you may point out to the fact that, and you could see this on the live stream, the Spanish referees were, shall we say, not as attentive as the UK referees.
Valid point, yeah. I saw that. I did see some of that.
So there was some of that. There's also a question in terms of how these courses are marked. They're not marked by Hyrox HQ. They are a franchise.
Yeah.
So Mintra, who does all of the UK courses, although I think now Natalie will do the courses in the UK, she's not checking them for distance. So if you're unkind, you could say, was it short? Honestly, I don't know. I had no clue. But the other thing, which our friend Greg from Rocks Life pointed out, in Spain, they do have a across the board better rate of competition. And that's no disrespect to the UK people.
Right.
It's almost like, how in the UKOCR scene, we have a great mix of some fantastic elites and me.
Yeah. And me.
And you. But
Somewhere mixed up there.
Yeah, and we have the same in Hyrox. We have some great elites. We also have some people who are completing it. Or in the case of me and you, not completing
Not
it.
completed.
But whereas in Spain, almost like in the Scandinavian OCR countries, it seems to be the ultra athletic people who are doing Hyrox.
Right. So it's the super CrossFitters. Because in CrossFit were big in Spain and places like that.
I think it was. They are athletic. They do have a healthy diet and all that. And I don't think recreational sports are as big over there in Spain. So you do it'll be a bit like how in the UK, the average marathon time has increased as more fun runners go and do it. It's the way it is. And Greg came to this conclusion because he looked at how they were doing in Spain. They were fast, but then we were coming to like the UK and they were still fast. So it's not the course, and iron sharpens iron.
I like that. Iron sharpens iron. I like that saying. Yeah. No, you're quite right. But then Hunter then comes away from somewhere else and he breaks the world record. So the course must be fast for one reason. That just can't have been the competition side, could it?
No, the course, for whatever reason, must have been slightly faster. I don't know what. You're never going to get an accurate Garmin reader on it. I don't know. I think people were watching Hunter like a hawk. So I think all of his wall balls were fine because no one said otherwise. Our trust CIMs, our DMs would have been flooded if Hunter had should we say, gone as close to the parallel as possible on them wall balls. But as I understand it, he didn't. So, yeah. And the other reason he did it, Alan, is he could fit into a European adventure. He was already visiting Cyprus.
Yeah.
He was already visiting London. So why not fit in Barcelona as well?
Do you think it's going to get to a point where marathons and 10Ks that are qualifications for anything serious, someone goes around with a measuring wheel and puts a white line down and says, this is the course track. If you run this white line, it comes in at exactly this distance. Do you think that they're going to do that at some point and someone's going to out with a measuring wheel and say, okay, so this is exactly 1 kilometre?
Well, they do it in Hyrox. They do have the measuring wheel at Hyrox, but I'm not sure how they've done it in Spain. I don't know. I've seen it in the Hyrox events we've attended.
Yeah.
And this was the thing coming out of Glasgow, the question of when they were doing this kilometre, were they taking the middle line, thinking that was a racing line, when actually there was a better path around the corner, which means it was less than a K. We honestly don't know. So I think it's a mystery. But honestly, Alan, outside of the Elite 15 qualification and outside of people having world records, does it matter?
No.
Because people, again, I'm trying not to gatekeep, but people qualify for the worlds based on your placement. You're beating who's there, other than the Elite 15.
You're quite right. But then there's also, let's just say I did Manchester. Yeah, I finished Manchester and I finished it in 1 hour 30. Yeah, I'm competitive to myself. I go to Scotland and I run a 1 hour 25, 5 minutes faster. I think I'm getting better. I then go back to another event, maybe Manchester next time out, and I'm even fitter, and I don't beat a 125, I'm going to be a bit disheartened.
I can understand that, Alan. You run a park run,
Yeah.
and you get a sub 29.
Yeah.
You then run another park run, which has less corners, and it's only one loop. You get a sub 26. You then go back to your original park run, and you get a sub 28.
Yeah, I get that. That's a very good point. That's a very, very good point. Horses for horses.
Yeah, people, unfortunately, it's standardized, but it's not identical.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great analogy, that park run.
Yeah, park run is very similar. You could also use the marathon one. Like the world records for marathons are set in Berlin. Why? Because it's flat.
Yeah, Berlin and Vienna.
Berlin and Vienna, it's flat. You're not going to set a marathon world record at Barclay Marathons.
No.
Not least because it's not an official marathon. But
no, we've got friends doing it. We've got OCR people doing going out to Barcelona soon, haven't we?
Well, who went this past weekend? Ginger Lacey, who's a good friend of the show, who we all know from the OCR days. She's been involved in OCR for, I think, as long as you, Alan. I think she's an original. She's done a lot of Hyroxes already, but she took along a name you recognise, Kate Stillwell.
Oh, how did they do?
They did okay, actually. Yeah, they did. Honestly, I'm not going to say the time, but from what I understand, they had a blast, and Kate might try another one sometime.
Oh, nice one. I hope she saves some energy because she's my pick for Titan Warrior.
I think she ate a lot of paella, from what I understand. She might not.
Karen, if you're listening to this, you're my favourite now. You and Louise are going to battle it out. Katie's not coming in the top 3.
Yeah. Right, a couple of quick ones on Hyrox. One, there was streaming of Hyrox this weekend on the IG. I think we should maybe chat about this on another episode, just a general streaming one. It was great watching it, but then they forgot to save the video. So unless you watched it live, you couldn't watch it back.
Oh, no. That's
Ouch.
why YouTube's better.
That's why YouTube's better. The other thing, a little bit of news. Hyrox are teaming up with Gym Group in the London, whereby 25 gyms in London will now run Hyrox training classes, which, again, Hyrox is getting into gyms. Well done to Hyrox.
Is that 25 gyms as in a brand of gym, or is it 25 different small gyms?
No, it's 25 gyms in the Gym Group. The Gym Group being...
Oh, the Gym Group. Oh, right. Sorry.
As in the one that costs, I think, £10 here and 25 quid in London.
Yes. One of the cheap ones, 24 hours a day.
Yeah. So down in London, will they expand outwards? Don't know. It's obviously a pilot. I know we're running out of time, Alan, but there's a couple of quick hitters, I would say. One, Deca Kids. We have now got a Deca Youth. So in America, at least, 10 to 13-year-olds can now do a Deca.
Yeah.
And as I found out, 14-year-olds upwards can also do Decas.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, bring the kids in. Well done.
Well, they've mirrored Spartan's aging. So the 14 to 17 group already could do the adult Deca, apparently.
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
Although you had to do it on adult weights. So I don't know.
Don't tell Libby Joyce this. Libby Joyce is going to be straight onto Deca now, isn't she?
Perhaps we don't. Oh, lots of the other OCR superstars who are youngsters, you know, Finn and all that lot. I'm sure they'll. Oh, it's something new to do. It's a new trifecta to earn, maybe.
Yeah.
But my only fear is, I know I can't currently reverse lunge a 55-pound ram. Could a small 14-year-old boy reverse lunge? Is it safe? I don't know.
Yeah, but for me, we look at me and you, Ian. Yeah, I've seen the Mike Tyson documentary. When he was 14, he was a full-grown man. He would have been able to reverse lunge a Spartan ram without doubt. So there are some kids out there. Yes, maybe not the slight ones, but there will be people out there that could do them. I guess it depends on which one you're doing, isn't it? They're not all that weight, are they?
No, they're all that weight. It's standard weight.
Is that just the standard weight for all
For
of them?
adults, for men, it's £55 reverse lunge, £44 burpees. With the ladies, I think it might be more accessible because for the ladies, it's £33 reverse lunge, £22 burpee, which I think is more accessible for some of the great OCR ladies athletes that we have.
Time will tell on that. Whether we actually get kids doing it as many as what we think might be.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of doing Deca, if you wanted to do Deca Mile up in Clitheroe, unfortunately, at the moment, it's sold out.
24 hours? 24 hours sellout?
Allegedly sold within 24 hours. I wasn't paying much attention this time, so this passed me by. They only went on sale a few weeks ago, sold out, and then he released 15 more tickets last week. They've all sold out too.
Has Jen got one? Has our intern got one?
Intern's got one, so all's well in my house. So that's good. But yeah, I wasn't expecting them to sell out the second event so quickly, particularly when there's 3 months to go, or 2 months to go. Sorry,
that's got to be a good feeling to sell out 3 months to go.
2 months to go, but yeah, even so, probably 3 months actually, based on when the tickets went on sale. Yeah, unbelievable. And final story, Alan. Do you know the name Emma Chamberlain?
No, I was looking because I saw you put this name on the notes, and I was looking. I'm thinking, do I know that name? I don't think I do.
No, I googled. I've still no clue who it is, but apparently some people listening may know her. She's a influencer who's on YouTube. Fair enough. I'm not going to express an opinion of, I don't know them, so they're unimportant. They're obviously important to some people. Great. And she's making money out of YouTube. Fantastic. But she recently put up a shop. We all know in the content creator world that a good way is merch.
Yeah.
It's not quite been a great way for us thus far, but still, it is a good way for...
We gave most of it away at the awards.
It's a good way for competent business people to make money. We'll go with that. But what someone spotted on Twitter, Alan, is you could get her to send you a personalized Instagram direct message,
right?
For $10,000.
So she sends you a message for $10,000.
$10,000.
Hi Ian, how's things going? Right, listeners, anyone wants a direct message from me? Hit me up now. I'm going to charge you a tenner. I'll send you a message for a tenner.
Yeah. So, and do you know the funniest thing, Alan? Have you seen now when you're setting up an online shop?
Yeah.
Something like Clara automatically gets involved, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
You could pay for your direct message over 12 months at $850 per month.
Oh my God! What if you don't like the message?
I don't know. Do you ask for a refund?
If it's not to your own thoughts, could you ask for a refund? Yeah. It's not what I was expecting this.
Yeah, well, we are having some fun with this. I should confirm that allegedly it was a mistake. It wasn't genuine. She had no idea how it got there, etc., and it's no longer for sale. But had someone bought it, she would have took the money.
Cash 10 grand.
Yeah.
What if anyone did actually buy it?
I don't know, but yeah, some people. She obviously things like that don't happen by accident. But they're now trying to blame the IT team was testing something.
And that actually makes sense. I was going to say IT teams when they test stuff, they do put random things in that are jokes and bits of fun, but then they do usually remove them before it goes live.
Yeah, I remember once I was working at an old law firm, Alan, and you've said that now. We were working on, what do you call it when there's a lot of claimants? Class action.
Oh, yeah.
Class action. Our IT team was testing out the new website, and as a giggle, they thought they would just put a little bit of press release. Such body who was our opponent admits liability. Thousands of people due a payout. Except they didn't put this on the test site.
They put it on the live site.
Put it on the live site, and the first I found out about it was someone emailing me.
Oh, whoopsie doozy.
Yeah, so this 10K could have been an IT mess up, or alternatively, she could really think her DMs are worth 10K.
I think mine are worth £10.
Let's test. Let's see. Someone reach out to Alan. You can actually do that. Tell you what, listen, if anyone buys us a beer, are our beers set at a £5?
No, our beer's at £2. £2 is the minimum.
£2 minimum. Right. So if anyone buys Alan 5 beers, so a tenner, he will send you a DM. Let's see if anyone does. Actually, if anyone buys us a £2 beer, Alan, send him a DM.
Buy me a £2 beer and I'll send a DM to whoever you want me to send it to. That's better. You can buy it as a present for someone.
Oh, that's dangerous.
Why is that dangerous?
Could you imagine what we could...
random? I'm going to send somebody random. I don't even know a private DM. Hi, my name's Alan. Yes, that will take that back. We'll take that back in. I can see people get me to send random DMs to people. No, we'll not do that.
No. If you ask nicely, he may send it to someone, an approved message. But yeah, if you want a DM from Alan in the next week, buy us a beer on the buy us a beer thing on the link, which I'm sure is somewhere. It'll be in the show notes, yeah.
You know anyone who DMs us it, and I always reply to them anyway. So it's like...
I know it's a waste of £2, honestly, listener. Just DM us. It's fine.
Just DM us, we'll DM you.
Yeah, this could backfire. People could now not DM us thinking we're going to send them an invoice for £2.
Yeah, okay. Here's your invoice for £2.
No.
When your Mike Nolan's going to message me at some point, I'm going to send him an invoice for £2.
Oh dear. No, listen, we're having fun with it. If you want to buy us a beer, by all means, and we will DM you. But if you just want to chat, just DM. We'll chat.
So, and that reminds me, we have got a new Patreon as well this week. But I'm not going to tell it now because I'm going to give it a shout out on Monday's show. I'm going to give a shout out to all the patrons on Monday's show. And the video comes out tomorrow from the awards as well, Ian. And all our patrons are listed at the end of that as well.
Fantastic, Alan. Right, have we got anything on show notes or are we done?
We're absolutely done. Cha-ching! Tonight is on. Ding dong, bing bells gone.
Well, fantastic. So, Alan, on that, I'm going to say it's a goodbye from me.
And listeners, it's a goodbye from me. You take care and we love you all. Bye.